My name is Algimantas. I live in a small country, Lithuania. It's in Eastern Europe, at the Baltic Sea. I represent Creator as his ambassador and apostle of Jesus and his partner, Creator-daughter Nebuchadnezzar. When I read different books by a Russian author of the 19th century, Leo Tolstoy, I enjoy not only his novels, but also his articles. His ideas, his thoughts are so deep, so enlightening, and actually they're universal. By this I mean that you may live in any country, but if you begin to ponder his words, you will realize that what he is claiming about Russia and about Russia of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century exactly might be applied to your country, no matter in what country you might inhabit. And in volume 16 of his words, I came across his article on education. And he wrote that he studied the educational system in Britain, France, Germany, and of course Russia. And he arrived at the conclusion that parents were not satisfied with the educational system in these countries. Neither children were satisfied to attend such a school because education was made compulsory, forceful. Children were, in a way, suppressed. They were not allowed to move, to talk during the classes. They were strictly disciplined. They were not even allowed to ask questions. Of course, that was the 19th century or at the beginning of the 20th century. But in general, when I look upon the current educational system, I see that what required of the educational reform Leo Tolstoy has not been implemented. And exactly the same assertions of Tolstoy might be applied to the 21st century educational system of Lithuania or of the United States of America or Canada or Australia. Everywhere, educational system is against Creator's will. Because Leo Tolstoy was promoting the idea that initial education should start in the family, and especially in the closest relationship between the mother and the child. And the child, while living in the family, also is being educated by their natural environment within the family, by their behavior, by the parents' desire to disclose a child's mind and his personality as much as possible by applying the communication, which should be sincere, natural, with their children. Parents are responsible for the initial stage of education. And at the same time, Tolstoy regrets that in some of the countries appeared, and that's 19th century, the late 19th century, appeared some sort of nursery schools. And by this, children are being taken away from the family, where they are just in their natural environment within the family. They can disclose themselves in a natural way and at the assistance of their most beloved ones, their parents. And all of a sudden now they're being moved to some special homes and separated from the family. It's not right, because the environment should also be taken into consideration while educating children. Those who live in the countryside, who develop land as agricultural farmers, they should also grow their children in this very same environment and educate them by performing different jobs together with their children and explaining to the children as to how to perform this or that job in the right way. The same is in the city. The urban population has its own environment which is natural to the urban population, and the children should also be educated in this natural environment within the family, so that even the parents might apply the environment for educating their children. But when they are attending school, teachers cannot disclose their pupils in the best way, because teachers are also at a loss. They don't know the children's character in depth, because they have never acknowledged the source and center, creator, being indwelled their own mind and even the mind of the children. So that's why there is no living and based on mutual love bond between the pupil and their children and their teachers. So that's why there is no living partnership. There is no living communion between the pupils and the teachers among themselves, as within a loving family. So that's why educational reforms are always going on and on. But every new reform is based on the former one, which has, in a way, dissatisfied people. That's why parents didn't like that sort of educational system. Neither children enjoyed attending school. No one desires to be forced, behave in this or that way, like a robot, like some piece of machinery. So that's why there is no freedom of thought being developed since the very young age in the kid's mind, because there are no teachers who might first write such programs, because all the programs that have been used in different countries and in different educational systems have been written by the people who have no idea about Creator inhabiting their mind, and that it is possible even to discover Creator within. So once this sort of spiritual enlightenment is being experienced by this teacher, his mind performs a quantum leap. His spiritual insight all of a sudden enormously grows. So in this situation and in this state of his consciousness, this teacher might work with the children as with his younger brethren. And he already knows that his work should be directed for the benefit of all. Not only for the benefit of this child he is responsible for educating at school, but for all the children and for all the society, for all humanity, and even more, for the whole of creation. So this direction, this vector is being passed even to the mind of this teacher by Creator's Spirit, indwelling his mind as well as the minds of his or her pupils. So it's in this situation and under this condition that the teacher has discovered Creator within. It is possible to create such an educational system that would cooperate with the families and with the parents, with their children, with the teachers of the same school, with the teachers of other schools, as one family. This cooperation should be directed for the welfare, well-being of the whole of society, of the whole of humanity. But for this, there should be spiritual teachers, because high school teachers, university teachers should also receive spiritual education, and where could they receive it, as there are no such educational institutions. So that's why I started training spiritual teachers, because without a spiritual teacher it is impossible to clean all this mess around the planet, in all the countries, in all spheres of man's life. It's chaos. No living system that had been that had been passed by Creator as an evolutionary plan of Creator to be performed by an individual putting his own contribution to the implementation of this plan, by putting everyone's individual deposit in Creator's bank on high. So that's why I train spiritual teachers. And now, again, I will show you this epochal revelation, the Urantia book. And I want to read a couple of passages from this revelation. One evening at Shunem, after John's apostles had returned to Hebron, and after Jesus' apostles had been sent out 2 and 2, when the Master was engaged in teaching a group of 12 of the younger evangelists who were laboring under the direction of Jacob, together with the 12 women, Rachel asked Jesus this question: Master, what shall we answer when women ask us, what shall I do to be saved? When Jesus heard this question, he answered, when men and women ask, what shall we do to be saved? You shall answer, believe this gospel of the kingdom, accept divine forgiveness, by faith recognize the indwelling Spirit of God, whose acceptance makes you a son of God. Have you not read in the scriptures where it says, in the Lord have I righteousness and strength? And also where a Father says, my righteousness is near, my salvation has gone forth, and my arms shall enfold my people. Take away the filthy rags of self-righteousness, and clothe my son with the robe of the divine righteousness and eternal salvation. It is forever true, the just shall live by faith. Entrance into the Father's kingdom is wholly free, but progress, growth in grace, is essential to continuance therein. Salvation is the gift of the Father and is revealed by His sons. Acceptance by faith on your part makes you a partaker of the divine nature, a son or a daughter of God. By faith you are justified. By faith you are saved. And by this same faith you are eternally advanced in the way of progressive and divine perfection. By faith was Abraham justified and made aware of salvation by the teachings of Melchizedek. All down through the ages has the same faith saved the sons of men, but now has a Son come forth from the Father to make salvation more real and acceptable. In summing up his final statement, Jesus said, you cannot buy salvation. You cannot earn righteousness. Salvation is the gift of God, and righteousness is the natural fruit of the Spirit-born life of sonship in the kingdom. You are not to be saved because you live a righteous life. Rather, it is that you live a righteous life because you have already been saved, have recognized sonship as the gift of God, and service in the kingdom as the supreme delight of life on earth. When men believe this gospel, which is a revelation of the goodness of God, they will be led to voluntary repentance of all known sin, realization of sonship is incompatible with a desire to sin. Kingdom believers hunger for righteousness and thirst for divine perfection. So how to relate what I've just read with the educational system in any country? First of all, Jesus' gospel, the fatherhood of God and brotherhood of man, is applied to all races, to all humans. So that means Father is one for all, and all people through the whole of humanity are brethren. I've expanded this gospel by enlarging this humanity up to the scale of the whole of creation. And not only the Father, but also the Eternal Mother and the Infinite Mother and the Aggregate Deity I Am, making up Creator. So the fatherhood and motherhood of Creator and brotherhood of the whole family of creation. And that is correct even in eternity. And however creation might be expanded, all the same it will be applied. Plus, I proclaim my own gospel. Creator is living and indwelling through the spirit of his own, the mind of each individual. And it is possible for that individual to discover Creator within. So having discovered Creator within, the gospel of Jesus becomes so natural, because once you discover Creator within, you realize that all men, souls, and spirits are your brethren. It's just a fact. So now, getting back to the educational system, which is a complete mess in any country. So that's why children do not enjoy attending school. They try to escape school classes as much as possible. Their parents are also dissatisfied with the educational system in all the countries, because there are no spiritual teachers who might explain to the contemporary high school teachers, university teachers, that you should first hear spiritual teachings, that you should be able to apply these teachings in your life, in your work. So if you discover Creator within, you will begin to look upon your pupils as your younger brethren. You would like to share your knowledge with these younger brethren, because your mind already embraced Creator's light, Creators that you have already discovered within, light that is real, living within you, and you will desire to do your work as best as possible by revealing yourself as your spiritual personality for the benefit of your pupils, for the benefit of other colleagues, teachers. You're also brethren, and for the benefit of the whole of society, for the benefit of the whole of humanity. And I have just mentioned expand the scale up to the limits of the whole of creation. So all this while dealing with the pupil of the first grade, second, 10th grade, you will apply this very same method. Do everything the way Creator is leading you from within to perform this job. And not only the way you might desire to perform, but the way Creator is leading you from within. So that's why for you, the most essential thing is your faith. Faith first in the spiritual teaching, in the spiritual teacher, and second, in the gospel of Jesus, the fatherhood of God and brotherhood of man, and my gospel. Just Creator is living and He is within you. Just discover Him. And once you discover Him, you will give evidence by your practice, by your experience. The Creator is discovered within. So it is just natural. He is for all, one and the same. And it is just natural that everyone around is my sister or brother in spirit. They are all brethren. And then the approach to the environment will be totally different. The approach to the educational system will be totally different, because you will focus not on how to perform a certain program that has been written by those who are blind in spirit and deaf in spiritual hearing. So that's why these programs are far from those that shall be in the future, that shall be created by those enlightened teachers for the enlightenment of the pupils. And the parents of the pupils would also cooperate with such teachers, with such schools. This would be like a family expanded. And that would be according to Creator's evolutionary plan. And in addition to this, as I've just read from the Urantia book, you will begin to feel your own salvation, which is a gift from Creator. Your all work at school shall be for the benefit of the children, for the benefit of your pupils, for the benefit of the society. You will be certain that this is meaningful, and every generation will have its own chance to make its own contribution to expanding this light that is being given by school. But always having in mind the focus, the benefit and well-being of the whole. And everything is based on Creator's foundation, discovered within an individual, both the pupil his parents, and the teacher. So that's why spiritual teachers are indispensable. It is impossible to replace a spiritual teacher for somebody else. That you can do without a spiritual teacher and still ensure evolution. No way. Without a spiritual teacher, evolution first start making a loop, and later on is deteriorating to an ever darker darkness. It's degradation of both mind, spirit, and genetic inheritance for the offspring of the future generations. Just ponder my words. I don't speak anything just in vain. Ponder my words and apply the teaching even in your own personal living. Discover Creator within, and then you will know how to live your life. Otherwise, you will come to a crossroad where you will not be able to distinguish righteousness from the wrongdoing, evil from goodness, sin from virtue, to carry out Creator's will. And what is more important, you might not receive salvation. You might not be resurrected. That's a big question. Don't put your soul and spirit at stake. Mark my words in your heart. I embrace you. Let Creator's peace and bliss and my fatherly, brotherly hug be upon you.